Hello racers, and welcome to today's video. We're going to review what might be the greatest setup manual for RC cars ever created. That's right, this is the Hudy Setup System Instruction Manual and Setup Theory. This is 56 pages of everything you need to know to set up your RC car. I'm excited to show you what's in this manual. Let's get into it. Okay, we had a fun little intro to today's video. I really like doing these setup guide reviews. I really like learning exactly, what the ideas for setup were for your RC car, and any ideas that you do learn, you can apply to other cars. I got this particular manual from my friend. He purchased it with his Hudy setup system. He bought an all-in-one setup solution, and this is the manual that came with it. And what kind of makes this manual special is the date that it was written. So I kind of looked through the manual. I couldn't find any date stamp on it, but I did see that in this bottom corner it talks about the X-ray that the instruction manual we depict the X-ray T1 Evo 2, and I looked up when that car was created. That was back in 2002. So this information has been known for a long time. So if you were an X-ray driver back in the day, you had quite an advantage. A little fun fact, it says it's 56 pages. As I was looking for the date and things, I noticed that the first page here is page 2. So the covers are actually pages. This is really only 54 pages of information. So when this came with the instruction manual for the setup guide system, you can see all the components it came with. It came with tweak gauges, ride height gauges, little blocks, droop blocks, the setup board. It came with this was a complete kit, and they had this manual in there with it. And the first 30 pages is basically telling you how to use the stands, what adjustments you can make for like droop. It says how to use the tool that they sold. So the first 30 pages of the 56 page is just how to set up. So really, when we get to the setup theory page, we are 30 pages in. So most of the manuals to tell you how to use the tool. But here's the revolutionary part. In this setup theory, how you set your car up for corner entry, mid corner, corner exit, braking, off throttle, on throttle. So back in 2002, people weren't really considering that. They were thinking more of static adjustments. You can see, so that's an interesting thing. Now, what I have been doing is comparing each one of these setup guides, theory that they have for roll center. Now, roll center is the linkage of your equipment, of your links. So here's a little mini bee I have sitting there, and roll center adjustments deal with the height of your links and the height of your arms, and how that affects roll center. So it's more of a geometric centering. It doesn't really include the springs and shocks, although that does affect your handling. And you can see here there's diagrams showing you how those links are calculated and played. But typically, if you raise the inside, if you make the inside of your link higher and you get a high angle out towards the outside of the edge of the car, that shape is a low roll center. If you bring that angle in, that it's higher on the outside edge to the inside of the car, that's a high roll center. A low roll center will allow the car to roll more in corners. A high roll center would be stiffer in corners, won't roll as much. And you have to consider that a lot of the force is transferred through the link into the tire. So you get more initial. And I'll just do a little diagram that I like to do, because this concept how people use it has changed over time. So I like to do this little diagram. So here is our track grip. Okay? And it goes from low grip to high grip. And somewhere along the line, we traction roll. Okay? So consider that we're in low grip, we traction roll, and then you can actually get higher grip tracks and actually traction rolling. So on a low grip track, you want a low roll center. A low roll center removes initial steering, so entry, so minus entry, but you get plus on the mid and plus on the exit. So you get less grip on entry, more grip in mid corner, more grip corner exit. Then what happens is if you add, let's put high roll center here, you get, so as you increase the angle on those links, it gives you more grip corner entry because it's initial. Weight transfers through the links immediately, but you get less mid and less exit because the car doesn't roll as much, and rolling over transfers weight to that side. But eventually you get to this very high. So these concepts were back when we had CRC gray carpet, and the grip only got so high, and maybe it was only a little bit higher than traction rolling. But now they have the CRC black, so you get very high grip. Basically, the tires have 100% grip all the time. And in this case, you're more about tire pressure and weight that you're applying on the track. So you go back to these low roll center techniques, which removes entry, grip, because they're trying to keep from traction rolling. That's what they're doing in a very, very high. But you're going to get more mid and more exit. But since you have 100% grip, you don't really worry too much about the mid and exit. You're really focused on the entry. So that's the newest theory on roll center. Let's see what the manual says. We're going to take a look at the effects of roll center adjustment. So on the front of the car, front roll center, lower, they say more on throttle steering. Well, the front's softer. It kind of makes sense. You get a bit more steering. Car is less responsive. Well, that kind of makes sense because you don't get as much grip while the car is rolling. More weight's transferred at the front. Makes sense. It's rolling. It says better on smooth, high grip tracks with fast corners. Then they say for high roll center in the front, you get less on throttle steering. Kind of makes sense. Car is more responsive, and we know that because the weight is transferred through those links immediately. And it says using high grip conditions to avoid traction rolling. That doesn't kind of hold up well with what we're thinking, but maybe it's because the grip was lower back in the day that this was written in 2002. And it says use on tracks with quick direction changes. Yeah, so that kind of makes sense. So this book was written in the era where there wasn't a whole lot of grip on the track, and their theory, or what they suggest, holds up well. Now, what I do notice in this manual is it didn't talk about any of this corner entry, mid corner, corner exit. It just says statically how it works. And it does that, you know, several different things. We have a thing here on down stops. We're talking about ride heights, all those things, but you can see that there's a static little block. But this is where the gold is. That makes this manual what possibly is the greatest setup book ever. And here we go. This is a quick reference table at the back. And if people have had this back in 2002, there would be no racer traction rolling at the end of the long straight, because you can see every adjustment for the car They have corner entry, mid corner, corner exit, and braking, and whether you're on throttle or off throttle. And how this is used is you just choose your condition. Pink refers to raising, gray refers to lowering or softening, and there's a number for each, and you do the adjustments in order of the numbers until the condition you're having is gone. This is the first AI decision booklet that'll help you tune your car. This table is worth its weight in gold, and in fact is free downloadable. I'll put some links in the description. Maybe I'll put a link in a pinned comment to help you find it. You can get one of these tables too. Let's just pick a couple things. We'll pick, like, how do I get rid of understeer at the end of a corner. So here I am. I've been complaining about this on my Mini Bee for a little while. We'll do corner entry, off throttle, and let's focus on what we can do to the front of the car. Well, one of the things that the first thing I can do is soften the anti-roll bar, number one there. And that is true. It'll allow the car to roll a bit on corner entry. Makes good sense. Soften my front tires. That's a perfect idea too. Get more front grip. Look, what else can we do to the front of the car? So those are the two number ones. Let's take a look at what it says for number 3 here. We lower the roll center. That would make pretty good sense to get rid of understeer. That'll give you a bit more mid corner. Softer shock springs, softer front dampening. So that's how you would use this little table. And depending on the condition you have, let's go down and see what they thought of traction roll back in the day. Let's say traction roll, corner entry, off throttle. Here we are racing down the straightaway, getting into the hairpin. We traction roll. What should we do? Well, the first thing it says to do, harder tires if you can. Stiffer anti-roll bar. Raise your roll center. Lower your ride height. Lower your caster. So that's the type of things that this would have helped with. And this little table is perfect. So the quick reference guide section is pretty good. It's a little bit dated. I wish that Hudy and X-Ray would bring out a new version with an updated table, because I'd love to see how they would update this with all the new thought and theory on this for higher grip tracks. So if you like this type of thing, click like, click subscribe to see more. We're going to add this video to the collection of setup guides, and comment. Tell me what you think about this particular setup guide. Is this truly the greatest? Written back in 2002. Most people have never seen that quick setup section. And thanks again for watching the video. We'll see you in the next one.